So welcome to this conversation about what professionals, health and social care professionals could do to support us. Um, so, support us. So, who would like to kick off with something that a health or social care professional worker could do to support you? What would be your ideal? What would you like to happen? Mac?
I can talk from both sides, actually, from somebody who's living with the condition and also the carer, because I live with my family. Family meaning my children. Okay, my spouse isn't here; she's not with me. So there are some things that I can share with them, and some things that I can't, because they've got their own lives to live and whatever. So you don't want to go too deeply into it. But as far as personally, I am at my most happiest at home. So whatever I need or want, I would like that to be provided at home, because it's a safe place, safe environment. I know everything, I know everywhere. I can sort of, just reach out and get the book that I want.
Yeah.
I don't have to look for it. Everything's in the right place.
Yeah.
So that's the sporting side of it. I would ideally only like one thing from the professionals, and that would be continuous monitoring, and feedback, because by just checking up now and again. I mean, I haven't had my dementia review now from dementia side, person living with a condition. I haven't had my dementia review for years.
Yeah.
And I dispute the fact that, they call this memory clinic and you keep getting visits from there or whatever. I don't know why they call it memory clinic, because they're supposed to check every single aspect of dementia, not just memory.
Yeah.
And the test itself is a different topic. I don't want to go into that, but, just sticking straight to the point.
To support you as a person with dementia, there are two things, basically: being at home, keeping you at home as long as you can in as many circumstances as possible, and also having a regular checkup, monitoring, and feedback, so that you feel people are looking after you and know what's going on. Yeah.
I also think that there should be a dedicated phone line for people with hidden disabilities, because at the moment, when you ring up the GP even, and you have to press this button and then you have to press that button, and then the silly music is played on and you're listening to it, and it comes to a stage where if somebody has got a condition, they'll probably say, "Oh, forget it," and consequently lose that
It's really interesting. I had a conversation along those lines with my GP, or one of my GPs and practice managers the other day, about the awful e-consult system they use, and said, look, people with dementia, certainly people further on than me, and people with all sorts of disabilities will not be able to use this. Oh, well, they can always use the phone. Yeah, but the phone doesn't get answered for 25 minutes, and you've got the numbers and press this, press that.
My husband can't use a phone now.
Yeah.
Especially when you
have to ring at 8:30. Ring 8:30, and you're forever ringing, and it's busy.
Yeah.
And then when you get through,
the response I got, apart from the fact that there's a phone, was, "Well, we can't treat you differently from everybody else."
Yeah.
Why? We are different.
It's back to that, isn't it? It's how it's all geared up for physical disabilities. Because if you've got a wheelchair, they provide a ramp for you, and so why not provide the means by someone with dementia?
Well said.
To access but it's like when you get back to the PIP and everything, isn't it? It's set up for physical disability, not mental disability.
Yeah. In another group that I'm in, I'm doing an opinion piece with another person who was a carer, and we're comparing dementia with the support I got with cancer. We do have a dedicated telephone line for bowel cancer. We have a dedicated Facebook forum, a private forum for everybody there. And although it isn't monitored 24/7 by people from the cancer clinic, they do nip in and out, and they do pick up on things while they're there. So if they can do it for one thing, why can't they do it for another?
Brilliant. Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Susie, any ideas?
Yeah, I think for me, having cared for mum now for the last probably about 15 years with her dementia, the one thing that struck me the most is that we, as family carers, become totally, I can't find the word. I'm losing words now. Totally influenced by the personalities of the people at the end of phones, or the personalities of the people that visit, much more than the professionals that they are. So if you're lucky enough to have a kind and considerate social worker, for example, you're on a nice little road for a while. Talking about the GP surgeries, we've had lots of problems with our GP, not just the phone lines, but also things like we can offer your mum an appointment at 8:30 in the morning, and my response will have to be, well, she has her carers at 8:30 in the morning, and I often get the response of, well, can't you change the carers? Which of course you just can't do. You just can't change carers when the person you love needs 6 carers a day to just attend to their very, very basic personal care needs. So for me, all of this is not about interventions, it's about relationships, and it's about professionals listening, hearing and understanding all of us as a family, because in my family, as you know, there's 6 of us in this house, all with different views, opinions, emotions and everything going on. So to have somebody to walk the path with us, that main point of contact, would have saved me a hell of a lot of stress, I think, over the last 15 years. We still don't have that person. So for me, it's all about relationships.
I think, I'll say, kind of follow on from that. I was going to say, that I think that's the issue, and it maybe goes on from like the having a dedicated phone line and all of that, is that you just seem to, and also what Max said about that following up and feeling like you're being checked up on, because I think you just fall between so many stools with dementia. We went to the GP initially, then you go to the memory clinic, then you go to hospital, then you're here, then you're there, and you're just sat at home and you don't know the system, you don't know what should be happening, and you're like, and then when it's kind of eventually and we were lucky, they did come to our house, and I concur, Mac, it was so much better when you haven't got to do the travelling, the trying to find out where you've got to go, supporting Neil through that. Actually, they came to us, we could have a cup of tea, and it was the best way that you could receive bad news, or but equally then when he left, it's like, right, so I'll see you in a year then, I'll forward you off to these people, and you're like, okay, but what do I do with this? And, well, there's this charity, there's this, but I'll see you in a year. And in the end, you haven't seen us in a year, and you just kind of like, oh right, okay, so, and it's until that something happens that you need help with, that you ring up and ask for help and go, okay, he's had a panic attack, I've had to take him to A&E, what now? And then you're like, oh yeah, maybe we should reassess his medication then, maybe we should do this, and you're like, there's no.
Yeah, and of course, what they always say,
they wait till you're in crisis.
You can always ring us. You can always ring us, whenever you want to talk. And you think, well, you don't, do you? Because the sort of thing you talk about, it just crops up. And as Hannah just said, you wait for crisis, and then when crisis comes, it's too late.
Well, yeah, and then you're not in a frame of mind where you kind of sit and calmly chat to them, or the person, my husband's not in a place to kind of calmly chat. You want to say something, Max?
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, just a comment on what Anna was saying. The most important thing for a professional, and me and you have been professionals in our past life, we've done things, And the most important thing is knowing who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So they need to know that person, not his diagnosis, the person himself. And they need to actually tailor-make the questions for his needs.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like the professionals to do.
Yeah. And indeed, what I had written down, I did a little bit of prep for this morning, and what I had written down was, and this goes for both people with dementia and carers. You've all said it. I'm just summing it up in a sense. Listen to the person, see the person, not the disease, and not for that matter, just a patient. See the person, listen, understand, and support. Find out what matters to them, and enable them to do those things. Yeah, Hannah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I also did some prep work, George, and one of the things that I kind of wanted to kind of say as well is that as a carer, so some of the initial meetings we went to, they would talk to Neil, quite rightly, because he's the person who's see the diagnosis, but then they wouldn't talk to me, and I get that there are people have problem relationships that they're with, and you have to respect the privacy of the person with the diagnosis and that, but it's like I didn't feel listened to, and Neil's perception of what was going on wasn't always accurate, and he would say, yeah, I'm fine, I'm at home, I'm fine, and it's preserving his self-esteem and all of that, and so I feel that sometimes it would have been and then I had to kind of undermine him or sit behind him going, and I felt guilty doing that, and I felt that then the professionals didn't listen to me, and so it's kind of like, let me speak in a private way so that I could be open and honest about Neil's condition without undermining him, without making him feel worse, without contradicting him immediately, and it just causing us problems once we've left the consultation. But equally, and also maybe, then offer him, I mean, to be fair, eventually they did then offer him maybe some privacy to speak without me in the room, although we are, I feel that the diagnosis does affect us as a unit, as a married couple, as a family, however you want to do it. It is, because it is but I would have valued being able to talk openly and freely, and therefore that would have felt listened to. A lot of the time I felt that my evidence, I'm an ex-copper, so I can't help but talking like that, my evidence was kind of diminished, and it's like, and therefore I felt, am I making this up? And then you kind of go, no, this is what happened this week, and therefore, so it would have been as a unit, but also separately to make the kind of diagnosis and the support. So it's privacy and being listened to, I guess.
Thank you, Jill, and then I'll come to Matt.
Yeah, so my comment goes back to the discussions we had about the telephone, and that is for people out there listening today, really, to have a look at notes and information before they make telephone calls, and make sure they're ringing the right person. I mean, I had an incident last week. I care for my mother-in-law who doesn't recall that she has a physical problem that she needs hospital interventions for, and told the lady on the telephone that she absolutely didn't want an appointment, thank you very much, and didn't need it. And they should have been calling me, and it's all over her notes that I'm the contact person. And can you imagine what that has now caused me trying to get back into the hospital system? It's been a nightmare. So just look at the notes, have a look at who you should be ringing.
I know, sorry, Matt, just to say, my friend whose husband has dementia, he's also sadly now got bowel cancer. But when they were going for the cancer treatment, nowhere on his notes did it say he's got dementia, make sure his wife is involved, she needs to help understand the diagnosis, the process, the arrangements. And again, it was like, there's no cohesive, of all the whole person, it wasn't. So and she had that like difficulty like you did, Jill, just that, okay, he has bowel cancer, but he also has dementia, which does affect how you're going to treat him for his bowel cancer, sadly.
Of course,
On the things that we were talking about, one of the things that's come up, although I haven't personally experienced this, But people have said that when they do go to see the professionals, they do not want their carers with them. Because what happens is that the professional is talking to them through the carer, not to the person. And that is off-putting. Also, I personally feel that there are times when you discuss things with a professional because you've got this trust that it's going to stay where it is and he's going to do something about the condition. You open up, and when there is somebody that you're familiar with there, you might not be able to do that. Like in our peer sport group, for instance, they do not want the carers there because some of the things that they say, they don't want the carers to know, as it were.
Yeah, so I mean, I absolutely agree with you, Mac. So I think what we're saying is that the professionals have to be totally flexible. They have to be able to understand the situation. They have to ask you, do you want to speak alone or do you want to speak together? You know, give you the options rather than just treating you, me, whoever, as the same number as someone else. You know, so we come back to make sure you treat us as individual people, listen to find out who we are, and then start to do something that can help us.
Certainly when I went with Anne to get her original diagnosis with the doctor, Anne kept on looking at me to answer as to what the answer, and I asked the GP at that point, do you want me to go out of the room? And she said then, no, it's okay. I understand, you know, that she's looking towards you, but I'm talking to her. And, you know, I hope that she realizes that, you know, that I want her answer. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the third of the particular issues, which is talk about something someone did, something quite special someone did. It may not have been huge, but it had a big influence on you that really helped you. Either, you know, obviously as a person with or carer. So who would like to have a go at that? Hannah, you did your prep. You can start.
Yeah, the only person I found that actually was the dementia nurse, the Admiral nurse, when I was thinking about this one.
Oh,
and
good answer.
and it was, you know, and I don't want to be like that, the poster girl for Dementia UK, but it was, you know, when I was thinking about the person who has had time to sit and chat and find out about us as a family and Neil's personality and my personality and how I deal with caring and how he deals with me with caring and the girls, and it has been the Admiral nurse, and she is the only one that has the time and the experience and knowledge of dementia to treat us as individuals. She also, when we were in periods of crisis, she's the one that's spoken to social services. She's the one that has coordinated with the memory clinic and things behind the scenes and has pointed me in the right direction. And I am eternally grateful that I live in a postcode where we had that access. She even, you know, when we didn't get the PIP the first time, and then with various things and my dad dying, didn't get around to appealing and kind of redid it. She was the one that, you know, she'd never done it before, but she researched and she came with us to the interview to have the PIP assessment, and I'm sure we only really got it because she was a professional sitting in the room going, yeah, that's rubbish, no, he needs it, he can't do that, he can't do that, and so they believed us, and so we got it. So for me, that was her.
You have indeed just become the poster girl for Dementia UK.
Yeah, everyone, I really do fervently believe that everyone deserves an Admiral nurse after, when they get a dementia diagnosis. I cannot say that strongly enough.
I'm thinking that I can think of many times, and in most days, George, we're really lucky to have some really fantastic carers that just take that extra couple of minutes to brush mum's hair brush her teeth even nicer one day than the next, or give her something special to eat, or just, so there's many things. But the thing that I did my research this morning on was was our new GP, who we were about to leave the GP surgery because I couldn't cope any longer with the phones and the being asked to move things for the GP all the time. So we were about to move surgeries, and that was going to be a massive upheaval. But I just thought I'd give him one more chance, and I actually got a new GP from that surgery, and she has been incredible, especially now mum's in palliative care. So she came to our house, she met all of us as a family, and she spent time understanding who we are. And this is 15 years into mum's, well, more into mum's diagnosis, that we finally had someone who really listened and cared and told us about the interventions that we could have at home to enable mum to stay with us to the end of her life, which I didn't know was possible, and I was very worried about end of life situation for her. So she took that, but the most important question that she asked us all was, what else? And she asked that question more than once, and every time she said it, what else, one of us came up with something else. Because we weren't just asking her there for one reason. We knew.
It's a really good point.
Lots of things.
What else?
What else? That's all she said. And I was, and mum's ears. Oh, and can you check mum's chest? And you know, the girls, everybody was having their what else moment, and that meant the world to us.
That's a really good little nugget, that. What else? And of course that implies that the person takes the time to listen, rather than doing the, okay, this is what I got to do, go. Okay. Alan?
Yep, mine's also about the Admiral Nurse, or our first Admiral Nurse, because we've got 3 now, George.
Greedy.
Not fair.
Yes. Unfortunately, I didn't ask for help from the Admiral Nurses until a month before Anne died, because I didn't realise that how ill she was and how close she was. But the time when it was, really telling for me was actually on the day that Anne died. Wendy had made an appointment to see Anne for the second time. My son and I had sat with Anne all night, and I was dead on my feet when Wendy arrived. She went in to see Anne, to talk to her, came out, said, "What are you going to do now, Alan?" And I said, "I'm going home for a rest. I've been up all night." She said, "Please don't be long." Anne died a couple of hours later, so I was able to be with her at the time that she died, and I wouldn't have been had Wendy not have been there to say that to her. And that made all the difference to me.
Thank you. Mac?
I think the lockdown has been good for me, because I have met so many people through this Zoom session and whatever, because the first thing that happens to a person when he's diagnosed is confidence goes, because you go into a lockdown. You stay away from your friends, you spend more time on your own, because it's not the disease itself, it's the thought of a disease, because you don't understand it, you don't know it. I'm talking from my personal experience now. You only know the worst possible condition of that disease, and you're afraid of saying something out of line, offending anybody, or saying something that might be misunderstood by them. So you stay on your own and you go into a lockdown. But I don't know whether I mentioned this on this meeting or not. My favorite TV detective is Columbo, and Columbo said on one of his episodes, he says, "All we do is look and listen and look, and that gets us the results." And, you know, really and truly, the only thing we want is people to listen to us, get to know us. Peer sport goes on top of the list for everybody simply because they can relate to people and they've got a big connection, and that is dementia. They've got nothing else in common. I've met over 3,000 people through this Zooming session over the last 2 years. And I have got people on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, everywhere. And 90% of them are people that I will never, ever meet face to face, but we are connected. And the connection that we have is so strong, it's unbelievable. And that is only because we all have dementia.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mac. Jill.
Yeah, for me, the best thing that somebody's done for me, again, like Mac, during lockdown, I was unable to visit mum in a care home, and several of the carers actually would call and say things like, you know, mum's been in the garden today, she's had her favourite ice cream, which was a Magnum, and of course we didn't put her in the sun because you know, we know she doesn't like direct sunlight, but she's been in the garden and she's done this and she's done that. So I truly knew they actually knew her as a person, what her likes and dislikes were. And also it was so helpful for me to know that she's surrounded by people that love her and know her, you know. And that, whilst it was a 2-minute conversation on the telephone, for me it meant everything, you know. So that was
good,
great.
thank you. My thing was being introduced to the Deep Network by a guy called Chris Mason, who a lot of you will have heard of. The star of Panorama about 4 years ago, lives in North Wales, and indeed has done a huge amount to raise the profile and awareness of dementia. But he encouraged me to go along to a little North Wales Deep conference, and that got me into the Deep Network. And honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I have met so many wonderful people and got some dear friends, many of whom, like Mac, I've got to know a hell of a lot better through lockdown because of meeting them on Zoom and having conversations regularly, rather than just occasionally at a conference or something. And it's I don't know, given me a huge sense of identity, of importance. I'm not importance, that's the wrong word. Of belonging to something, being part of a bigger movement, if you want. And that gives me the confidence to know that I keep, in the early days, I suppose, I kept finding that what I was thinking, someone else was saying, therefore I thought, oh, well, I can say it too then. And it was just that confidence to know that I wasn't completely loose cannon. I was actually thinking in the same way as other people. And again, that's what you get in peer groups. Peer group support is for certainly early to middle stage dementia. Peer groups of the right age and stage, by and large, are the best form of support that we can get, because we don't need much else. We do need some now and then, like an Admiral nurse to help us navigate the system, or a dementia navigator if they exist, you know, something like that, someone who knows you. But the Deep Network is what's really made a huge difference. And any Admiral nurses out there are welcome to come to the Deep meetings whenever you wish. So, any last thoughts? Hannah, you've been jotting. Is that because you've got something to say?
No, it's because I can't listen to a meeting without doing doodles. Sorry.
Yes, I remember.
You have to listen to us. You have to listen to us.
No, but I can't. I have to doodle.
Can I just add one thing though on here? You know, we're talking about peer sport group and Deep and all the rest of it. I was diagnosed in 2010. And it was 2019 when I found out about Alzheimer's Society. And it isn't all that long ago that I knew about Admiral nurses, thanks to you, George and Jill. Well, I don't know, about 6 months or plus,
Yeah.
something like that. Now, these are the things that we need to know. People that are diagnosed, they need to be signposted to these organizations. And then, when somebody gives you literature at, say, at memory clinic, they give you this leaflet, hey, I read that, it'll go in the bin, because you're that angry and you're that upset about the diagnosis itself. You're not going to read any of that. You need face-to-face communication, sitting there, because we have to a certain extent, lip read, see body language, because we have a condition.
Yeah.
And that is, like on PS Sport Group, for instance, I don't want to take too much time, but I've got FTD, and we've got 2 other members that have got FTD, but our issues are different.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show that, if you met one person with dementia, you met one person with dementia.
Yeah, quite.
Professionals say that, but they don't practice it. They don't actually stick to this thing. That's the problem.
So, Jill, I think we've probably come to the finish.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of just like to acknowledge, George, that everybody listening to this session today will be there because they're interested, because they want to know more. So I'd just like to, have a big shout out to all of the people on the call, because and listening to our conversation. And I really hope they've picked up some interesting and topics and interesting things and important things to do. But just a big shout out there for being there, actually.